Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. So today the prompt for DRAWSOME is lighthouse. So I'm going to do one of my favourite lighthouses that I used to go when I was a little kid. My parents used to take us down there every summer, and it's called Point Lonsdale. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I have painted this quite a few times, but I am going to do it from a slightly different angle. So I usually do it from the opposite side here, but this one I'm going to leave this at the base there. So hang on, where's the lighthouse is just on this bit here. So I'm going to raise that bit up, pop in the base of the lighthouse, goes up a bit higher there, just like that. Then, so I'm going to do this in gouache today because I haven't done a landscape in gouache, I don't think. Not a proper pure landscape or seascape. So I thought I would give it a go. So I'm just drawing. So this is, lighthouse has got a dark lantern on it. It's quite dark during daytime. It's a grey. Come around there. So I'm just getting the basic shapes in. I'll make that a little bit taller. And there's like a guard around it, like that. Then there's a little window about there. Draw that in. Off this side there's stairs going up. You can barely see them, but I'll draw them in. And I'm going to leave, even though I've got white gouache, I'm going to leave them the white of the paper, I think. Not 100% decided yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll leave them the white of the paper. So there's windows on this floor. So it goes that way, and there sort of, it's a hexagon-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, it's a hexagon. And then there's a veranda around there. Just suggest that. Then under this one there's a window, and there's a little door there which I won't need to worry about. I'm going to erase that bit that I just popped on there like that. And then there's all white caps. This is going into the ocean. You can actually see the headland coming around there. Then there's all white caps, like a surf beach going around there. Well, it's not a surf beach, but they're big white, they're decent sort of waves. And then over this way, so the bay's out here, whoops, where I just scribbled. And then there's another headland about there, like that. And then off into the distance is the other side of the bay. So we'll see how this goes. I've never done this angle, so I thought it'd be a bit of fun. We'll see what happens. And then that's about it. So we're going to do this in gouache. We shall see how this goes. So I've wet my palette already. So I'm going to go in with the sky, and I'm going to go a very pale. What am I going to do? What blues have I got? I'm going to go cobalt and white for the sky. I'm going to wet that down, and I'm just going to wash that on just like that. I should be using a bigger brush, but that's okay. It's wash, it's not a problem. I'm just going to grab a slightly bigger brush, grab a bit of cloth to wipe my hands with. There we go. That's a bit better. Make sure I've got no paint on my brush, and I don't, so we're good. And I've got to mix some more cobalt blue and white to make that nice pale blue, like that. Slightly darker at the top, coming lighter towards the bottom. Whoops a days. And I'm using hot press watercolour. Oh, I've got to turn off my light. I've got the wrong light on. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. There would have been a bit of shadow and a bit of glare on my picture then. But you're better late than never. Oops, there's a little bit of yellow in amongst that, but it doesn't matter. Must have had a little bit of, oh, I did have a little bit of yellow on my palette that I didn't get out. Silly Billy, doesn't matter though. I'm going to try and see if I can get that off there like that. There we go. That's better. So slightly paler towards the water line, or the land line, because that's actually land on that side. So I'm just going to come down here and fill all of that in like that. And I'm going to cut around the lighthouse like that. Oops. Because it's gouache, I can go back over anything that needs it, because gouache is quite forgiving medium actually. I'm using my Sennelier gouache. It's my favourite. It's got a lovely sort of translucency to it. Might pop some clouds in right where I've got, you can see where I've got that bit of yellow. I'm going to pop some clouds in. So I'm just going in with pure white, quite diluted, in cloud shapes. Just in cloud shapes, just like that. Even though this photograph, oh God, where'd that red come from? Whoops, that must have been on the side of the thing. Palettes, because it's I spray my palette, and every so often you'll get a bit it'll bounce into the other palette, and I didn't see it, but that's okay. Just soften up around the bottom there. So clouds are bigger at the top, smaller in the distance. So I'll just fluff that up like that. Do some little clouds off in the distance like that. And that'll just about do it. I might make up a little bit of a grey. So I might go a little bit of darker blue in there. A little bit of a darker blue. And just to darken up the bottoms of those clouds. Because that darken the clouds, bottom of the clouds are in shadow. So I pop that just down there. Just, I'm not any sort of plan, just roughly, just doing it rough. And what I think looks okay. And same down here. Just go underneath at the bottom, like that. And same up here. Don't have a reference for clouds, I'm just sort of making that up as I go, but that'll do, that'll do. Okay, so the mountains into the distance. What I'm going to do there is they're actually a purpley grey, because they're off in the distance, they're not very clear, so I'm going to mix up a purple. So I'm going to go a bit of Prussian, a bit of ultra blue, and a little bit of vermilion. No, I'm going to use, what am I going to do? Might go magenta, a little bit of magenta, just to make a darker sort of purple. So ultramarine and magenta, a bit more ultramarine, like that. And that's going to be my distant mountains. I might need to make it darker than that. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of brown, touch of brown, just to darken that off a little bit. There we go, that's a bit better. So I'll just darken that off, pop that off into the distance there, and that's our distant mountains. This is pretty much what I would do for a watercolour. So try and keep my horizon line flat-ish. Yes, you can see the sand on that side too, so I'll pop a little bit of a beach line on there as well. And I'll just use a bit of yellow ochre for that. But I'll pop in that distant sort of hill first, like that. Cut around there, like that. Back into that mountain, because that one's closer, it'll be slightly greener and browner. Won't be as distant and purpley. But I'm going to make that even darker now if I can in a couple of spots. So I'm going to add a bit more brown. Ooh, that's yucky. A bit more brown to that. A bit more blue. Just for a couple of areas, because it's a bit darker here, down there. Just adds a bit of variation. It's not just one flat colour. A bit like that. A bit darker into the foreground. That gives you like two distant mountain lines. One's closer, one's a bit further away. The cooler ones are in the further distance. All right, so that'll do there. Cut right close to the lighthouse like that. There we go. Right, then this mountain is actually a sandy colour, but so first I'm going to grab some yellow ochre and a bit of white, maybe a little bit of white, or I might just, yeah, a little tiny touch of white. Yellow ochre and a touch of white for the sand on this bank. And it doesn't matter, actually I don't mind that. So I'm just going to take that right along. It's doing what watercolour does, well, what gouache does. It's acting a little bit like watercolour. So I'm just going to take that along there, because it's actually, the sand is quite bright on that side. I had a bit stronger colour. So this is now I'm going in, that was yellow ochre and white, now I'm going in with pure yellow ochre along the sand bank, like right towards the back. Over there. Like that. Righto, there we go. Now, I'm going to go onto this mountain here. It's closer, so you can see more of the earth tones and the green. So I'm going to go straight in, yellow ochre, pure yellow ochre. I can fill the whole mountain in because I can go over the top with a bit of green. It's got a sandy shore that comes down there. All right, I'm going to pop a bit of green on the top. So I'm going to go a little bit of olive. Just drop that straight in on top. Yellow ochre while it's still a little bit wet. Like that. Because that's a cliff. That's a beautiful big cliff going off into the distance there. I'm going to a couple of different browns. So I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna. Touch of burnt sienna in as well on the front bit. So that's coming down here. Well, you can treat it a little bit like watercolour, so you can let it run in and while work wet in wet a little bit. I'm just going to pick up that extra bit there. So you can work wet in wet. I'm going to add a little bit of Van Dyke brown. A little bit of Van Dyke brown. That's an incredibly dark brown, but that's okay. I'll dilute it down a fraction and try and get some of this cliff face looking like cliff face. Like that. Come around the side. Righto, there doesn't need to be a whole lot of detail back there because it is not the focus. I'm going to pop a bit of green in with that purple just to darken up some of the patches of grass on the top for variation. Right, now I'll leave that alone and I will move on to the ocean. So now I'm going to go in with ultramarine. I'm going to go straight in with ultramarine. Like that, nice and dark. Dark in the distance. And I can go over that because I can put that back in with white when I'm ready. Or with paint colour when I'm ready. I am going to try and cut around the lighthouse as best as I can though. Go backwards and forwards. Because I can add ripples with white gouache. Because yeah, gouache is lovely. It's very forgiving like that. And I'm bringing it down and it's getting paler towards the foreground. Now all down here is hill and dirt and all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna, I didn't put that in there. I just got that straight off the palette. There we go. That was silly. So I'm gonna go over the top of that again, come down all the way down here. Like that. Like that. There we go. And then it also goes behind. So I can take that in behind there. Go a bit darker, get a bit more blue on my palette. You can see it granulating even the gouache granulates a little, which is an interesting effect. Oops. I can go over that with a bit of white. Anywhere that I touch that I shouldn't with the... Okay, so that's pretty much the ocean in. I will go over it slightly darker in a couple of areas just to create some interest. It's darker in the distance, lighter in the foreground. And I've got a lovely turquoise that I can pop in there for the shallower bits. So I just pop a bit of that in there like that. Where is my turquoise? Do I have a turquoise? Oh, I don't have a turquoise. I thought I had a turquoise. I thought I had a gouache turquoise. I have it in acrylic. I don't have it in gouache. So I'll go a bit darker like that. And I need to figure out how to make turquoise. I can probably go a bit of blue, bit of yellow, which makes a green, but we'll try it. Let's try it. A bit of blue and a bit of a light green. Let's try that. See what happens. Oh yeah, that sort of works. Bit of light green, bit of blue. That's interesting. We'll do that. We'll pop that into the foreground on the water a little bit. Maybe a bit more yellow in it. I can go over the top of this anyway if I don't like it. It's the beauty of gouache. Because shallow water has got more pale colours in it. Okay, so go like that. There's actually another little building there that I've missed out. Doesn't matter, it's not the end of the world. I can always add that in after, which I still might do. So now all of this is green. This is all, I'm going to mix that onto that same palette there. All of this is green. It's all hill, all behind the water. So I'm just going to blob that in. Comes around the lighthouse like that. It's like the headland it's sitting on. So pop that down and around there. Then there's rocks. So I'll just pop in a few different tones of green. And I'm doing it in random brush strokes. I don't want it to look fixed, like just filled in, blocked in. I want there to be some brush strokes and some interest there. So now I'm going to mix up another green using the same colour. So I'm going to go a bit more blue into it. So I'll make a darker green for some of the darker areas, which is sort of down this side, like that. Blot that in. Up here, because I can add, there's another tower there that I've got to add in, which I will. And I'm just going to let that flow around a little bit. It doesn't hurt it at all. Pick that up. Get that excess beady bit. Okay, so now I'm going to mix up a bit darker green, add a bit more blue to it, and a bit of brown, a bit of burnt umber, a little bit of burnt umber to me green. Nope, that didn't work. So we'll go olive, a bit more burnt umber, that one. There we go. Makes an even darker olive. I'm going to pop that down, and also just around here. Around in there, just add some sort of texture and different bits of the bushes like that. That's all like beach scrubby stuff like that. All right, and then down here is all rocks. So I'm going to go back in, clean my brush, grab my yellow ochre, pop that back up on that part of my palette. And they're actually quite predominant cliffs. So I'm going to pop them in. One goes like that. I haven't drawn them in, but I'm painting them in. So there's a cliff bit like that. Then another one sort of comes along like that. Another one like that. Like that. And then it goes off down here. So I've just roughed that in. And now I'll go over that with a little bit more yellow ochre. Like that. So that's a stronger sort of I might make that a bit bigger actually. Take that up there, like that. All right, so I've got to strengthen up these. So I can cover that pencil line like that. All right. It's looking okay. Now, go in with the darker brown. Go in with a bit of burnt sienna, I reckon. On top of that, oh, actually, a bit of raw sienna, actually. I changed my mind, a bit of raw sienna. onto the front there, like that, leaving lights on the top where the sun's hitting, like that. And these rocks are sort of next to each other. I'm just going to fill them in like that. Another little rock there, another one there, another one there. Right. Okay, a bit of darker brown now. We've got a bit of Van Dyke. Onto the face of these. I'll blend that in a little bit. Whoops. Need to wet my brush a little bit more. There we go. I can drag that around into the darkest areas like that. So this is a very loose sort of gouache, loose gouache painting. I am treating it sort of pretty much like watercolour. A bit more Van Dyke. There we go. This is pretty much exactly how I would treat a watercolour. It's just the difference is it's opaque paint. It's just not not transparent. So come through here. Let's have a look. Go there. That pattern in there. Come around there. I've got to darken up this one. Like that. Just keep those rocks interesting. They've just got to suggest rocks. They're not going to look exactly right like rocks, obviously. They're just suggesting rocks. Like that. Let's have a look. Okay, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I'm going to go back onto my water because I've made a bit of a mess of it. So I'm going to clean off my green. I can pop that back in later. And I'm going to go onto my water. I'm going to clean my brush thoroughly. Grab my ultramarine blue again and pop that in here. And I'm going to go back over. I've got to tidy this up. I'm really not happy with this bit. So I'm going to come in and try and do it in cleanish sweeps. See, the paper's bowed just a little bit. I've added an awful lot of water, but that's fine. I want all my brush strokes to go the direction the tide's going. And I've got to come, I should have done it a little bit darker up to my cliff. That's all right though, that's fine. Coming in a bit here, go over that yellow. Try and diffuse that a little bit. That's fine. Come down to my cliff again, my rocks, my rocky bits. And I'll pop some surfy white bits in there as well, in those bits. Right, that's a bit better. That I'm a bit happier with. Okay, go back to my ultramarine. I've got to tidy up this side as well. Like that. All right, good, good. Now get my white. So there are white caps off in the distance. You can see big white waves over here. So I'm going to pop. I'm going to run my brush along there. That's a big white wave. Whoops, we got one that's a bit wet there. That's fine. I'll just dab that up. Oop. Clean my brush. Smooth that out. There we go. Like that. Get a bit more of me white on my palette. Like that. Go like that. All right, having a bit of fun with this, bit of this white. The biggest waves are way over here. They're massive. So pop those in. I might have to go over those again. And then down here, there's also big waves. So I'll pop in the big waves down here. It's really rough down there. Like that. So take that all along there. So that's obviously the shallowest part of the water. And then you've got little white caps out here, just little ones. So I'll pop a little bit of, not symmetric, I don't want it to be symmetric. So I'll pop in little interesting bits. not all over it, just in sections. Just like that. Okay, reckon that'll do. Now to go to work on the lighthouse a little bit. Then I can add a few more darker tones in here and there where I need them. But I'm going to go into my lighthouse. I'm going to grab my slightly smaller brush. And the lighthouse is white. The lighthouse, sorry, is white. But I'm going to make it a little blue-grey because it's partially in shadow at this time of day. So I'm just going to go a bit of blue, a bit of cobalt blue, a bit of white. Actually, I can just use that mix there. And I'm going to travel down the front of my lighthouse. I can tidy up that line in a minute. And I'm going to come around there just about halfway and drag that down. Oops. Drag that down there like that. I can tidy up those lines. That is nearly all that colour. The front of it is also that light blue colour because that's not in light, it's not in bright white light. And you can actually leave the white of the paper as the white of the object, which I might even do. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to grab a bit of grey. Do I have a grey? I've got a bit of black. I'm going to make a grey with a bit of black and a bit of white. A bit of pale grey. Very pale grey. And I might even add a little bit of blue to it. It's very, very, very wishy-washy, very pale. Bit of black, bit of white. There we go. I'm going to put that onto this light at the top because that is actually all black. Well, it's dark grey anyway. So fill that in like that, that dark grey. And anywhere that's got dark grey bits, I'll pop that in as the base grey. I can always go over it with purples and things, which I might do yet. So pop that grey in. Very pale grey, it's not dark by any means. All right, and I can actually darken those up as I see fit, if I see fit, if I think I need to, which I might. I think I might need to make a darker blue, but I'm going to use blue. I'm going to go blue and white. I'm going to add a bit of blue to it. I don't like black and white, so I like blues are great, makes a great darker colour. So I'm going to come down the front of that a bit more solid lined. I might have to add a little bit of white to the back here just to tidy up that line because I made a little bit of a fuzzy mess there. Righto. Now, the beacon is a bit of a blue, bit of a purpley colour. So I'm going to go a bit of blue. I'm going to go a bit of magenta to make it a bit more blue, a bit more blue. A bit of magenta, a bit more blue than that. And I'm going to make it very pale. So I'm going to add a bit of white, a little bit of white. And I'm going to pop that into here, into the actual beacon part where the light is. And then I'm going to go in with a bit of the browny grey because there's a bit of a shadow going that way. So just using what's on my palette a little bit, just like that. And I might leave the back of it. Got to come down there. I might go mix up a bit more of that black and white. I'm going to darken up the front of it's in shadow. So I'm going to darken up that bit at the front. Like that, because that's how you get your 3 dimensions with your shadows and lights. So that's like that. That's the beacon on top. And then it's actually got a little banister around it. So I'm going to pop that on like that. So that's when people go out and walk around the top, they're secure. Might just pop in, just suggest that. I've got to darken out this window. I'll just touch in there with a little bit of that dark that I've got right here. Like that. Then there's actually all cables and things coming off the front, so I'll just lightly mark them in. And also a bit of a balustrade around there, like that. All right. I should have done those on a slight tilt like that, but I can adjust that a little bit. Just lift that one up a little bit, just to give it a bit more of a twist to it. There we go. Right, go back into my shadows on my lights, grab a little bit more of that black. While that's still wet, it doesn't want to darken up, that's fine. I'm gonna grab a little bit more black and drop it into that corner. Now, these windows are in sections, so I'm just gonna block like that, like that, like that. Doesn't have to be perfectly neat, just that suggest windows. That's a big window there. That's a door. All right, and that is pretty much all that needs. That is pretty much all that needs, but I'm going to go back into I need to make up a blue and white again. So go a bit of blue, I can pop that down here. Pinch a bit of that white, actually I can use the side of that, that'll be fine. Because I've got a bit of white there. And I'm just going to mark the bits of the building that are in shadow, like that. I'm going to drag that down, just soften it like that. There we go, that's just softened that white. I'm sort of wheeling myself back and forth to have a look. I'm going to lighten up the bottom of this cliff face over here, because there is little ripples going over there. Tiny little ripples, so I'll pop them on. And then the big white caps are over the other side. Now there's buildings and all sorts of things on the other side. I should probably pop a few little lights and whites in just to catch a bit of sparkle over here. Just off into that. Just pop a few little suggestions of houses off in the distance. Off on that tree line over there. There's a little clump. Okay, that'll do. Leave it alone. Come down here. Drop a little bit of white into that sand towards the water. Get a little bit here on my palette. Take it down there along the edge. Right, stand back and have a look. Looks pretty cool. Looking pretty cool. Okay, so now, tops of these rocks. I'm going to go into that and I'm going to add a bit of white to it. Just I've got to pale it off because the sun's hitting the tops of these rocks. So I'm going to make them a bit lighter. Anywhere the sun's hitting, it'll help to give these little rocks shape. So their light's coming that way. So I've got the light hitting the backs of these rocks. So I'm using that yellow sort of colour. And just do rough shapes. That'll help to suggest them. And that's flat up there. And this side's a bit rough. Like that. All right, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. I do need to darken up those shadows over there, so I'm going to actually go in with a bit of a stronger shadow colour that I've got left over on my palette, just to strengthen them a little bit, like that. I've got to add some more greens into here, so I'm going to go a bit of green on there, mix that all together, doesn't matter. Bit of blue, bit of blue. I might want it a bit darker actually. Ooh, bit of blue. Actually, that worked. And a bit of brown. That'll make a greyish green. There we go. A bit more. All right. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit more brown to that, like that. And so that's a very dark khaki sort of colour. I'm going to add that into here. Anywhere I can see that it's quite dark, I'll come right up beside the lighthouse there. It's dark on this side. Coming down into there, sort of under the bushes. doesn't have to be patterns, or just sort of has to connect, but not, you don't want it all symmetric, and because light's hitting different areas and just creates interest. It is darker down here. It is darker down here. So I'll pop in a bit more there, a bit over there. All right, I like that. I think I like that. Okay, I'm going to go back into the water for a little bit. So I'm going to clean my brush thoroughly. Clean my brush absolutely thoroughly. Make sure there's nothing on it. Go back into my pure white. Pop a bit on the bottom of my palette down here. And I'm actually, you know what I might do? I might actually do it, make it a little bit rough. Not perfect, because waves have, like, they roll. Waves roll, so you sort of want to have a roll to them. They roll from one direction to the other, and then they go thin. So they start like a rolling wave. They go thin, and then they go thick when they're breaking, like that. All right, I'm sort of happy with that. I'll take that along there a bit more. There. Like that. And I reckon I've got a little bit of too much green down here in the water, so I might pop some more. There are white caps down here. I'm going to see if I can diffuse that a little bit. I was trying to make a turquoise and it didn't work. You know what I can do? I can actually, you can make like a opaque watercolor. I can actually go into my turquoise, my watercolor turquoise that I have, and add white, which I might do. I'm gonna pop that in this palette here. Let's see, I've not done this before, but I have heard it is doable. So I'm grabbing my watercolor that is a turquoise, and I'm gonna pop some opaque white in with it. Like that, and see if that works. That'll work. That works, look at that. So just, because that's in the shallower water, is that turquoisey blue. You can see. All right. Just want to lose some of that stronger green that I've got in there because I was a silly duffer. Just like that. Okay. I've got to clean my palette, pop a bit more white up here. Now I can go back in, pop a bit of white. And I reckon that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So that was a fun little sketch. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. That was a fun way to use gouache. I've not done a gouache seascape before. So now I'm doing this with Aurora, Aurora's Art World, and I do every week do DRAWSOME. We're supposed to be doing it live, but I actually got sidetracked today and I had to go out, so I couldn't do it live, but here I am. So I will have Aurora's channel link below. I would love it if you would go and check out what she's created for this prompt, the lighthouse. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this paint, and I will see you for the next video. Okie doke, have an awesome day, and thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you then. Okie doke, bye.